ADP rankings can win you leagues, and you have to understand where players are getting drafted. The discrepancy between non-best ball ADP and best ball ADP is getting crazy. The gap between some of the players across both data sets is wildly interesting and wildly unexplainable. The desire for best ball drafters to oversaturate the wide receiver market is head-scratchingly reckless and is creating two different data sets that have almost nothing to do with each other. It used to be very, very commonplace to look at best ball data and say, there's a little bit of a discrepancy, there's a little bit of a difference, but not enough to stray away from it as a great source to prepare for both best ball and non-best ball. But the industry is telling you you've got to go wide receiver in best ball. The industry is creating tons of content over and over on why you need to go wide receiver, creating an opportunity for us to go best ball, running back more often than anybody else, which is blasphemy in the best ball industry. You can't go RB and win fantasy football. Watch us. Watch us. We'll do it, and we'll do it often. But we do have to look at the two different data sets now. It's getting worse every single day. It used to be, like I said, commonplace to look at ADP data on Underdog Best Ball, which is amazing ADP data, by the way, and say this covers us on non-best ball and best ball. It's getting worse every day, and we're going to take a look at the gap, the discrepancy between non-best ball and best ball. Nabers going in two completely different territories in best ball versus non-best ball. Kyren going in completely different territories. Achane, Ayuk, JT, Jahmyr Gibbs, MHJ, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Waddle, Derrick Henry, Drake London is going in completely different buckets of player in best ball and non-best ball. Nico Collins, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, Pacheco, and more. The Fantasy Football Show, probably the most important ADP show we've ever had, begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Okay, so we're breaking this down. Calvin Krim dropping a $5 hauler to start the show. Says, hey, Smitty, sometime down the road, we should talk more in depth about rounds 15 through 18. Last year's BB winner had Reed, Hubbard, Stroud, Kyren. Definitely, we talk about that a lot, though, Calvin. Like, anytime you want to bring it up, like right now, we can definitely discuss it. So let me get into this, and then we'll attack it in a little bit. But it's a great topic. Remind me before we leave to dig into the 15th and 18th round. I'll give you a bunch of names that I like. But I get that question probably once every 2 or 3 days, and I do spout off a bunch of players. But ask me again, we'll do it again. No problem at all. We're looking at ADP data, ladies and gentlemen, that is vastly different between one data set and the other data set. Best ball, non-best ball. Used to be that we could use these best ball data points across non-best ball thinking, but no longer because of the oversaturation of wide receiver content in the fantasy industry. And it's getting very bad. It's getting to the point where it's almost like people are getting brainwashed into drafting wide receiver, or even going triple wide, or even going 4 and 5 wide receivers in a row. And it's distorting the market so much that in best ball, your best chance of winning in 2024, dare I say, is going running back heavy, especially if you know what you're doing later on with the wide receivers. Don't listen to the slaves to data. The people that are just a slave to last year's data. Not even this year's data. Last year's data. We're not a slave to data. We are a open-minded running back, or even in some cases triple running back in a row community. I'm not scared to go robust RB. in the best ball industry. I'm not scared at all. And I know a lot of people think it's blasphemy to be like, hey, you can't go RB. The 2023 Best Ball Mania winner went RB. People don't know what in the hell they're talking about. We're an RB community. Best ball does not mean no running back. Best ball is a territory where we dominate the RB. We don't have to. Let me make a clarification. We are a best player available community every single time, no matter what. We do not draft a position. We draft a player. Every time we're on the clock, we draft a player, not a position. Okay, so best player available might lead us down the road of wide receiver. People don't listen. They come into the comments. Said two people yesterday be like, why not RB wide receiver? LOL. Hey, Smitty, why not LOL wide receiver running back? This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't think you're paying attention at all, bro. We are a best player available community. It's the only way to draft. If you know ball, you draft best player available. What I'm trying to convey is the oversaturation of wide receivers in today's best ball economy is making running back on average higher value in rounds 1 and 2 than ever before. Let's look at Kyren Williams' ADP across these two formats. He's 29. Running back 29 on best ball data. He is running back 15 in non-best ball environments. That is such a crazy difference. That is double the ADP. Not 5 spots, 7 spots. This is absolutely crazy. 29 in best ball, 15 in non-best ball. The truth of the matter is 15 is too low. Like this is a first round player. So if there's ever any advice I could give you out there in best ball worlds is to draft Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is a steal at 15 overall in non-best ball. What do you think I'm going to say to this right here? What do you think I'm going to say to this Kyren Williams 29 overall? You're winning leagues on it. Best player not available is the way to go, says Ron Navy. Ron Navy with a $20 hauler. Appreciate you, Ron.
Alert. Super chat alert. Alert. Super chat alert.
This is such a discrepancy right here. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth. Thanks again, Ron. Appreciate the $20 hauler. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth. Kyren Williams wins you a league at 15 overall. He deserves to be in the top 6 overall. Let me scroll this down here and make these both at the 1 overall territory. So I got Kyren right here. I got Kyren at 29. I got Kyren at 15. He deserves to be in the top 6 overall, top 5 overall. Kyren Williams is my running back 2 or 3 overall. And if you cuff him to Blake Corum, which is the must cuff move in fantasy, period. There's no better cuff than Blake Corum and Kyren. There's no better cuff. In my opinion, this is the number 1 overall running back. In my opinion, in McVay's system, you've got the number 1 overall running back. Do I like Bijan standalone more than Kyren and Corum? It's like I go back and forth. I'm not going to lie. But at the end of the day, give me Kyren and Corum over anybody for safety, for security. I already think Kyren's capable of being the number 1 overall running back in fantasy football. The system also is a big reason why. So if I get Corum, I'm locking it down. If I get Corum, I feel safe as can be. I'm sleeping like a baby if I've got the duo. This is the biggest discrepancy across these data sets, ADP data sets, non-best ball versus best ball. And either way, you're winning leagues based on this. Don't let this value sour your opinion on 15. Oh, this is how people think, the psychology in fantasy football. Your boy's got a psych degree. I dabble in this stuff. I dabble. And I'm dabbling right now by telling you the psychological struggle you're going to have by saying, oh, I'm so used to getting Kyren at 29, I don't want to pay 15. Don't let this greed right here blind the greed of passing over Kyren here because you want that value. This is a win a league value. This man, let me show you something on my Instagram if I dare. And if you don't have my Instagram dialed in, you don't know what in the hell you're doing. So get on over to my IG and do it live. This is on my IG. Let me show you a little monster that's running out there doing absolute terror on everybody. Look at Kyren out there running routes, catching balls, cutting like a monster. There's no running back in the National Football League right now that looks better than Kyren Williams in drills right now. And everybody's worried about his foot, his little footy poo. He injured his foot, Smitty. Does this look like a man that's got a foot injury? Does this look like a man that isn't one of the quickest running backs in the National Football League, catching passes, talking about Corum being a benefit to him because he wants to line up in the slot. He wants to catch more passes. He wants to double his reception totals in 2024. He wants to be the number one overall player in fantasy football too. He understands fantasy football. He appreciates fantasy football. And let me remind everybody that these rankings that you can find both these rankings found at thefantasyfootballshow.com, which is my content site. So get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com. You can get articles, trade calculators, bold predictions, video courses, rankings, Superflex rankings, Dynasty, rookie rankings, super rookie rankings. I coined super rookie rankings. Everybody copies me on all this stuff. Super rookie rankings are the sophomores and rookies, and that's an evolving thing. So when new rookies come in, they bump the sophomores into the 30-year players, so they get bumped out. Then the rookies become sophomores, then the incoming rookies. It's a revolving two-class ranking system that helps you get into a dynasty mindset. But these ADP rankings side by side are available at thefantasyfootballshow.com. This is the biggest discrepancy I can find. Kyren to the moon. Kyren is going to win you a league in 2024. It doesn't even make sense. None of it makes sense. I don't get it at all. When we look at Kyren Williams and what he did, 1,144 yards, 12 touchdowns in 12 games, 15 total touchdowns in 12 games. 12 of them were rushing. 12 rushing touchdowns in 12 games. There was no better running back in the league per start than Kyren Williams and Christian McCaffrey, and it wasn't even close. No running back was better than Kyren Williams per start, but Christian McCaffrey, and barely. People don't understand how good Kyren is. They don't get it. In fact, this is the only running back aside from Barry Sanders that has ever been top 5 in rushing, missing 5 games. Missing 5 games, he is the only running back since Barry Sanders to be top 5 in rushing while missing 5 games. He's an absolute gem. He's an absolute league winner, and his name is Kyren Williams.
He's Kyren, he's 7 feet tall, and he knows how to handle a ball. He's Kyren, he can take frowns and turn them upside down with his touchdowns.
Thank you, EC, who says, Smitty, been following you for a while. I just signed up for your membership. Thank you. He's talking about going over to thefantasyfootballshow.com, which I just showed you, and he signed up for thefantasyfootballshow.com membership, getting the tools, the rankings, the bold predictions, and all of that. So appreciate you signing up, my man. Let's move on to a couple other players because there are so many good values to be had here. And there's also some warning shots that I need to send out there. Let's go right over to Achane because there is a discrepancy between Achane. Achane's 27 over on the non-best ball front. So Achane's right here. Achane is number 24 on the best ball front. Not the biggest discrepancy in the world, but this is entering a whole different round. So we're talking about the 2-3 turn, and we're now talking about middle of round number 3. So it is interesting, though. It's a weird one how in best ball he's higher than in non-best ball. Because in best ball, we're seeing wide receivers get ranked. Let me tell you something. 50% of the top 30 in the best ball ranking are wide receivers. 70%. 70% of the best ball rankings here, top 30, are wide receivers. 70% of the top 30 are wide receivers. Is that not crazy? Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, JJ, Amon-Ra, AJ Brown, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. It's crazy. 70% of the top 30 is a freaking wide receiver. Whereas over on this side of the fence in non-best ball, it's only 50%. 50% of the top 30 are wide receivers. That is where this discrepancy is occurring. That's what's shoving players all around the board. The only thing that doesn't make sense, though, is that Achane in best ball, where running backs are valued less, he's going 24. It's wild. And then in non-best ball, he's going 27. And these rankings are average between CBS, ESPN, and Yahoo versus Underdog Fantasy. So this is a very, very aggressive ADP that's extremely accurate because it has 3 different platforms, fresh data from Yahoo, fresh data from ESPN, fresh data from CBS, all averaged out, which gives you the most accurate non-best ball ADP you can find on the internet. Okay, and it's all found at thefantasyfootballshow.com. So get on over there. I also have side by side on the same page, exactly like you see it here on the website. I have the best ball rankings from Underdog and the average rankings here, which are sortable, might I add, by clicking either ESPN, Yahoo, or CBS if you want to sort by that. Achane is a curious case as to why he's falling where he's falling. He's an absolute gem. He's an absolute monster. And EC, I didn't give you a standing ovation or a moonshot for doing the $10 holler.
To the moon.
You get a moonshot for that. I appreciate you, my man, for doing the 10 spot. $10 hollers get moonshots. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to give you a standing ovation on top of that. For the delay in not getting you that moonshot in time. I'm sorry about that, my guy. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next player. I mean, look, let me just say this. Kyren wins leagues. Achane wins leagues. Achane is an absolute gem. He's a sleeping giant. I don't know why people don't understand how good he's going to be. He put on about 10 pounds. Look how big and massive he looks walking into the facility. And when I don't know if you guys remember this live stream, but when he showed up like this, I absolutely lost it. I lost it. When he showed up 10 pounds, I said, I got to do something with my life. I said to myself, we're going to start lifting. We're going to start dropping LBs. You remember me giving you the pep talk? Since this, I've lost 20 pounds. Since this video, your boy Smitty has lost 20 pounds.
Let him cook.
$20 LBs. Your boys lost because of that photo right there. Because of this man right here, I started to cook. And I think you should cook as well. 1,100 yards rushing is my prediction for 2024. 10 touchdowns on the ground alone is my prediction for 2024. 55 receptions, 425 receiving, 4 to 6 receiving touchdowns. 15 or 16 total touchdowns is my projection for Devon Achane. this massive man right here that gained at least 10 pounds. I'm a little out of breath, but as you can tell, I'm less out of breath doing stuff like that because I'm in better shape. But anyway, 2023, he had 8 touchdowns on the ground, 3 receiving, 11 total scores, 7.8 yards per carry, which is number 1 in NFL history with over 100 rushing attempts. You're looking at the NFL leader in yards per carry in the history of the NFL with 7.8 yards per carry. It's insane. This guy's the most electric player in the NFL. He's the most capable of popping off any run and taking it house out of anybody in the National Football League. That includes Breece Hall. That includes Jahmyr Gibbs, who are probably 2 and 3. Okay, I'm not saying that Gibbs and Breece Hall aren't right there, but this is number 1. Proven by this number right here. Also proven by the system he's in that will continue to put him in these situations. And Miami Mike McDaniel, coming over from San Francisco, architect of the Deebo Samuel role, has put this man in the Deebo Samuel role in Miami. This is the man that is Deebo for Miami Mike McDaniel, head coach of the Dolphins, was the architect of the Deebo role in San Francisco. And everybody, including myself, wondered when he went to Miami, who's going to be his Deebo? Is it Tyreek? Could it be Waddle? Probably not. It's probably Tyreek. It wasn't Tyreek. It's Achane. And it's wonderful. It's beautiful. It's genius. It's the inverse of Deebo. It's a running back doing the wide back role versus a wide receiver doing the wide back role, which means he's compartmentalized into a certain amount of carries and touches that nobody can touch. That means he's not vulnerable to Jalen Wright taking carries. He's not vulnerable to Mostert. He's in his own little world with package plays designed just for him. And anybody that thinks that he's not going to be a monster is absolutely missing the boat and doesn't know ball. Plain and simple. Go get us a coffee and come back once you realize Achane is the man with the plan and he's going to be the most explosive running back in the National Football League in 2024.
Achane. Achane is the man. His haters call him small.
But he is 9 feet tall.
Achane is the man.
Listen, come in tight. Listen to what I'm saying. You don't like Achane? You don't know ball, pal. You just don't know ball, Bobby. And you can come in here with your regret and say to yourself, I wish I would have not doubted him last year. What's wrong with me? That's what you're doing. Did I miss the boat? Am I wrong? If I keep rooting against his failure, or rooting for his failure and rooting against his success, then if it comes true, then I feel better about myself because I feel like I missed the boat. How could I be good at fantasy if I didn't see him coming? That's the psychological battle that an Achane hater is facing. They want to be right last year. They're trying to go back in time in a regret time machine and be right about missing the boat last year. It's the only explanation for somebody to doubt Achane. And it's sad to watch it because you know somebody just doesn't understand their own emotions, and they're struggling and wrestling with this very thing psychologically. They have no clue why they're against him. They just are. They don't want to be a part of it. He's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. He had a knee injury. He had a knee injury, and then somebody jumped on his knee, and his coach took him out, even though he could have went back in and held him out for a little longer, and everyone's like, he's too injury prone. He had a knee injury. Breece Hall had a knee injury. Anybody could have a knee injury. It's ridiculous to start shoveling around this misinformation about Achane being injury prone. You do what you want. Achane is going to win leagues. And we got a super chat here. Let me answer this one real quick. The super chat is from Sterling. Sterling says, keeper league, you lose that round drafted. Kincaid in 5 with 3 years of control, or Dell in 14 with 1 year of control. The problem is Kincaid in 5 is not like an absolute, it's like kind of where he's going. So you probably take the Dell move, bro, and then just draft Kincaid back. There's not a ton of appeal locking him into almost his ADP. I'll say he goes in round 4 in Dynasty, so it's about a round help, but I'd probably say give me the 14th round, try and develop some of those moves for next year, because you can put yourself in a position to where you got just as good of an option next year, bro. So in limited keeper rules, I'm not as worried about that extra amount of time, because you'll develop some options for yourself just by drafting smart. So go ahead. Yeah, let the Achane haters throw the receipt out. You do what you got to do, Achane hater. We love you because you helped drive Achane's value down. This man, number 1 in the National Football League historically, in the history of the NFL, 7.8 yard per carry monster, is going to do wonders in 2024. He's so explosive. He's so electric. And Miami Mike McDaniel loves him, and he wants to get him the football every chance he can get. And he's going to pull in more passes than ever this year. As I said here, give him 55. This is a low ball estimate. 55 for 425 and 4 to 6 touchdowns. This line alone is going to make him an absolute superstar. And he's a win-a-league player. And if you draft Achane, who is a Saturn man, you're going to put yourself in an advantageous position against everybody else, because you're getting a top 5 to 6 running back in the 3rd round or 2nd round, depending on where you're drafting.
Mashed potatoes! Yeah, buddy.
And now we move on to the next player. Achane, appreciate your services, young man. There's a lot of players we got to get to, so we're going to roll a little bit quicker. I wanted to cover those two. I think Nabers is probably the next one we need to cover, because the discrepancy in Nabers' ADP is wild. It is absolutely all over the map. 54 in non-best ball. I got to move this chart all the way to the bottom of what I captured to get to Nabers' value in non-best ball, which is where this is where he's a value. This is where I like Nabers. We keep talking about Nabers getting overdrafted. The discrepancy right now, because of the absolute ridiculous wide receiver, shoveling wide receiver down your throat over and over and over situation that's going on in best ball, is absolutely ruining Malik Nabers' value in best ball. Malik Nabers is a total avoid in best ball. Why? Because he's going at number 27. So he's right here. 27 in best ball, 54 in non-best ball. This is the value over here. Am I drafting Nabers in non-best ball? You bet your bottom dollar I am.
Mashed potatoes! Yeah, buddy.
He's a monster. That ADP is absolutely phenomenal. That ADP is amazing. 54 overall. Look at the players around him. Aaron Jones, give me Nabers all day long over Aaron Jones.
Mashed potatoes!
It's not even close. It's not even close. It's wild. Give me, I mean, I love Tank Dell. Some of these ADPs are just so wildly different. It's insane. But Nabers at 27, it's not smart business. Is it okay? Look, 24, 25 is where he's been hovering. He has dropped two spots, but this is practically your second drafted player. It's so wildly different. Great in non-best ball, an avoid in best ball. So thank you, Malik Nabers, for your participation. Let's go over to Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco, 24 in non-best ball. Holy crap. The difference between his ADP values is insane. 24 in best ball. This is a second round pick in best ball. Makes you wonder if you can even draft him. And then we got 43. I got to scroll down to get to 43. There's 43. Isaiah Pacheco in best ball. What this tells you is you're winning a league with Isaiah Pacheco in best ball, and you're taking a bit of a gamble drafting Isaiah Pacheco in non-best ball. It's a crazy, stark difference. As stark as the amount of viewers in here in the hundreds and only 28 thumbs up. What is up with that? Can we get the thumbs up? 28 thumbs up with 100 plus of you in here. Smash that thumb up button if you could. This is a tough one. I don't think I can draft Pacheco at the 2-3 turn. This is in round 2. I love Pacheco. I love him. I win leagues with Pacheco at 43. We're winning leagues in best ball with Pacheco. We're big Pacheco fans. This is a fantastic value. This is concerning. Okay, is it a total avoid? Not necessarily, but it is a stark difference. Absolute crazy difference. Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is going at number 28. Number 28 in non-best ball. And he's going in 21. 21 in best ball. So not as big of a discrepancy. You see something that's like 6, 7, 8 spots apart. It doesn't hit as much when you've been looking at like 15 and 18 different, difference between one ADP data set and another. But this is still much more comfortable. Like 21 second drafted player, not even like turn 2-3 turn pick. We're talking about well into round 2. Very risky in best ball. This is the wide receiver tendency, the oversaturation of wide receiver content in best ball. When we're brave enough to say we go running back a lot of the time now in best ball because the world's scared to draft RBs in the best ball environment, and we're going to clean up if we smash our wide receivers, which we're going to do because that's what we do. Okay, so let's jump straight over to Ayuk is not the craziest situation, but it's something to just look at. JT, this is crazy. We talked about JT last night, and I said, somebody had said, JT or Gibbs. I'm like, Gibbs is ranked higher, bro. How could you? It's so different. Non-best ball is changing every single day, and JT in non-best ball is 11. Which is too high for me, not with these other players available. And then he's 15 in best ball. Not the craziest difference, again, when you've seen other ones that I've just shown you, but look at the difference. Gibbs is 12 in this one. Gibbs is down at 14. So JT in non-best ball is higher than in best ball compared to Jahmyr Gibbs. I want Gibbs over JT every single damn time. Every single damn time. And on the note of Gibbs, while we're here, Gibbs at 14 in non-best ball and Gibbs at 12. It's crazy that he's not further down in non-best ball, to be honest with you, given the discrepancy, but he's pretty close and obviously is warranted in that territory. MHJ at 17 overall and then MHJ at 13. So best ball, he's going quite a bit higher. This is a lot more comfortable. We've been wondering, do we pay first round value for MHJ in best ball? He climbed to like 11, 10. We still kind of paid it, but we're like, damn, we're drafting him at a ceiling. Well, I can tell you right now, in your mom and pop league, your work league, your grandma league, the nursing home league, where you try and take advantage of all the little old ladies drafting your best ball or your non-best ball team, Marvin Harrison Jr., well cemented into the middle of round 2 is gold, and it packages in more risk than we've ever seen before out of a wide receiver with this kind of upside. I love it. Patrick Mahomes is going 32 overall in non-best ball. Patrick Mahomes is going 49. I have to scroll all the way down. What does that tell you? That tells you you're winning leagues with Patrick Mahomes in best ball because people are petrified to draft quarterbacks until later. Patrick Mahomes wins you leagues in best ball. But here's the kicker. He's still absolutely mother freaking worth a third round pick in non-best ball. Absolutely. Don't think for a second. And this goes back to the old, okay, but I'm getting such a good value on Kyren in the 30s over on best ball, that when I go to non-best ball, I can't take Kyren because he's going in the mid-second round, and I hate the feeling of not being able to get the deal that I got over on the best ball side of the fence. Let me tell you, you're winning leagues with Mahomes at 32. You're winning leagues with Mahomes at 49. You're winning leagues with Kyren Williams at 15 right here. And you're winning leagues, of course you're winning leagues with Kyren in the 30s. Okay? So don't think for a second because the values are different, you can't invest. That's not how it works. Jalen Waddle, this one is wild. This one is absolutely wild. Okay, because this is one of my biggest avoids in best ball. Jalen Waddle's going, let me move this so we can get the ratio and the feel of these ADPs and where they're falling. It's a little bit better when I can line them up so you can kind of really feel the difference. So now they're lined up. Number 1's at the top. Number 36 is at the bottom. So at number 20, we have Jalen Warren. Okay. And then he's going 36 in best ball. He's at the very bottom. You can barely see him right here. This is a huge, huge discrepancy. And this is where he should go. This is where I draft Jalen Waddle now. I'm okay drafting Jalen Waddle in non-best ball. The continuous knocking wide receivers from round 3 into round 2 because scared Scott and worried William and petrified Peter and upset Unger and anxious, Angus. All these best ball content creators, wide receiver, have made Jalen Waddle a 3rd round player perceived to be worth a top 20 overall pick because of scared Scotty and all of the anxiety behind watching wide receivers get consumed and gobbled up. And this is ridiculous. This is not a good value. I've seen him go at 13 and 14 too. It's just not good business to take a team's number 2 player at the wide receiver position and make him your 2nd drafted player. There's no way this makes sense whatsoever. You can't do it. You can't do it. It doesn't make sense at all. This makes sense. Waddle down at the bottom, you can barely see it. At 30, 30, he's at 36 overall. He's at the 3-4 turn. That's exactly where he belongs. That is good value. That, dare I say, that might even be near win a league value if he hits. So there's that right there. We've got Derrick Henry with an ADP of 18 on best ball or non-best ball. 18 non-best ball. That's high. That's almost like, I don't want to say avoid territory for me because he becomes a huge injury risk and liability there versus 30 in best ball, which we've come accustomed to. We've grown accustomed to this and we love it. 30's fantastic. 18 is nearly half of his value up the board. That's crazy. That's a big difference to me. I'm not saying I don't toy around with the idea, but when Achane's down at 27, no thank you. So Henry becomes a near avoid at 18 overall. I still want him in best ball, but I love this value right here. And this isn't a case where I'm doing what I explained earlier, where I'm psychologically battling with my brain saying, well, if I'm getting him here, I can't take him here. I'm willing to overlook that when the price is worth it, when the risk is baked in. This is not baked in. Derrick Henry is not good value there. Here's another one where it's crazy. I still like London. I still pay the price for London on occasion, but London at 14 does make it tough to invest in him a ton. You got to pick and choose. Okay, I'm going to do it in this draft and take him 14, 15. It's kind of high, but 23 overall is where he's going in non-best ball with your grandma, your Uncle Buck in the work league, on ESPN, on Sleeper. This is fantastic. Drake London at 23 wins leagues. Drake London at 14, 15, he can earn that value, but you are kind of trending toward drafting him at a ceiling, so it becomes a little less of a solid proposition, but it's still warranted if you're looking for a wide receiver right in that territory. I don't mind either one, obviously don't mind this one, but this doesn't make him a bust just because he's going a lot later, but this is definitely a crazy discrepancy. Nico's going 29 in non-best ball, and he's going 17 in best ball. That's absolutely head-scratching as well. Very much similar to the Waddle situation. Very much explainable because of the craze of let's draft wide receiver in round 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's draft 4 straight wide receivers and have a shit box of a running back crew. Let's just have a barrel full of horrible players in the running back room, and let's draft Nico Collins at 17 overall and eliminate all the value. Let's neutralize Nico's value by taking him 17. No, this is where he belongs. This is where he actually hits a home run. This is where Nico needs to be. This is getting out of control, and we're taking advantage of it, and we're thinking RB. We're best player available. Understand what I'm saying. No one's saying don't go balance. Balance is always the best way to go. Running back, wide receiver, running back. It's always the best approach if it is the best player available pathway that has led you there, okay? But I can tell you 8 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, running back in 2024 with your first and second round pick is going to start looking more advantageous, even predicting it. Like, oh, I'm drafting at 11, probably looking at RB here. Of course, best player available will make me abort my cemented in plan of attack because we don't cement a plan of attack in. But I can tell you that the crazy oversaturation of wide receiver in best ball is creating a go against traffic environment. And yes, you do run the risk of having wide receivers gobbled up in a crazy amount that makes it really hard for you to have success at the wide receiver position, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. And if you land it, your odds then become even greater of winning because you're smashing the other positions. You're not winning the other positions, you're annihilating everybody at the other positions because you've consumed the best player available, not a position. You draft a position, you might as well put a blindfold on and throw darts at a wide receiver board. You might as well sort your underdog app down to just wide receivers and gray out running backs, gray out quarterbacks, gray out tight ends, and just when you're on the clock, just put a blindfold on and go draft a wide receiver, draft a wide receiver, draft a wide receiver. We will find the wide receivers you need to help dominate your best ball running back, or your best ball running back wide receiver, or your best ball wide receiver running back. Balance is always better approach. But we're not scared to go RB. We're probably the biggest robust RB community in the industry right now. And I can say that with confidence because the RB's back. It's a cycle. The RB doesn't die. When people said, oh, the RB's going away, Smitty, I said, no, it's not. I've been doing this 23 years. I've seen the cycle. This is about the 3rd time the running back is dead. Cycle has come through. It always comes back to life. It morphs a little bit. They become better pass catchers. They become hybrid running backs. The running back position will never die, and it's not thinned down. Last year, everybody said, we'll never see workhorse running backs again. That's funny because I see them up and down the entire top 30 overall. Really odd. Really odd. I see tons of them. And you might define workhorse differently than I do, and I don't give a shit. Workhorse is anybody getting volume. Volume equals work. Workhorse equals volume. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. It's very simple math. It's very simple science. Flowers, 52 and 35. Flowers 52 and 35. This is what I'm talking about. If anything is justified from what I've been saying the past handful of weeks, Zay Flowers at 35 and 52. This is where he belongs. I hate to tell you all. Lamar's never at a top 25 wide receiver. They bring in Derrick Henry. They're going to run more than ever. Any goal line work or red zone work is going to be prioritized by Lamar and Henry first. Zay Flowers he doesn't belong in the 34, 35. He doesn't belong in the third round. This is the third round. This is the second to last pick in the third round over on Best Ball because he's a wide receiver. 35 overall. Doesn't make sense. This makes sense. Do I draft Zay Flowers in non-Best Ball? You bet your bottom dollar because he's going 52. He's going in the 50s. He's going by Aaron Jones. Sign me up. Sign me up. Tank Dell, 50 and 31. No, 51. 51, Tank Dell, and 34. The crazy part is I still love this 34 value for Tank Dell. I still like it. So what do you think I'm saying to Tank Dell, 51 overall? Especially robust RB over on this side of the fence. If I go robust RB and you're giving me Tank Dell at 51, I'm winning a championship.
Let's go, mashed potatoes.
You also give me a mother freaking running back start, and you even give me Jalen Hurts on top of it, and you still give me Tank Dell because he sometimes can fall to your fourth round pick. He doesn't always go 34. He's climbed recently. I don't like this data right here because the data doesn't say he's 37 and beyond like he's been. He's climbed into round 3. I don't like it, but I find him often in the 37 to 39 range. And you give me Tank Dell as my fourth drafted player, and I'm able to go RB. I'm winning the championship.
Let's go, mashed potatoes.
Yeah, buddy.
You give me a player like DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith. Those are fantastic wide receivers. And, it's a smash. And then, I think that's really, I think I've gone through most every single one that I wanted to go through. There's definitely some other ones to go through. Ron Navy's dropping a $20 holler. Ron Navy, appreciate you. Ron wants to go through a Pickens analogy.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Not analogy. I don't know what I'm saying. Analogy. He wants to go through a scenario. Pickens is going at. Where's Pickens at? Is he even on this list, Ron? Pickens is going in best ball, obviously higher. 38. So 38. And then where is he at? He's probably not even on this list here. Pickens. Yeah, I don't see him. So let me go to my sheet that's on the fantasy football show.com. Let me go to the non-best ball. George Pickens is going at 60. So Ron and I have had some disagreements on Pickens, right? Not that I don't love him. He's a moon man last year, but he's not even on this list. I cut it off at 56. Pickens is at 60. He's over here at 38. This is where I love Pickens again. This is where Ron and I are having a cup of coffee or a brewski or a soda pop and a smile and having a nice little conversation about how good George Pickens' value is. I don't like him here. I love him at 60. It's a good discrepancy for sure. So it's not about hating the player. It's just about loving ADP. McBride at 50. Trey McBride at 47. Very similar ADPs. I already went over Patrick Mahomes. Unbelievable Patrick Mahomes here. And then Patrick Mahomes at 32. Very, very big discrepancy. Christian Kirk, 44. Come on. Where's Kirk going? Christian Kirk is going probably where he should be going on non-best ball data, 74. So there you go. 74, I'm fine with that Christian Kirk value. 44, no thank you. No thank you. I don't need that in my life. I don't need that in my life at all. We've got Josh Jacobs at 53. We've got Josh Jacobs at, where's he going over here? 34. So obviously non-best ball, we're looking at a higher valuation because running backs are going higher. So 34, this makes sense. Interesting. Let's open the phone lines briefly. We'll be back at 8 p.m. Eastern, obviously, but I do want to open the phone lines briefly to have a conversation if anybody wanted to discuss any of the players that got thrown out. Again, you can find all of these rankings at thefantasyfootballshow.com. I actually have them side by side on the page, and you can just look at them, and you can sort them by CBS, by NFL, by Yahoo. So they're all sortable ESPN rankings. So sort them or just use the average. I prefer using the average because it takes out any sort of mistake by a community that's overlooking something. So the non-best ball is a 3 ADP average fresh data, and then the best ball underdog is fresh. I just downloaded it today. So it's all great, amazing data. It is probably the most helpful information walking into a fantasy football draft, because it knowing where players are going is almost more important than having rankings. It truly is, because when you're drafting, you're using the app. I'm not saying not to print out my rankings and have them sitting side by side with you. I'm not saying that at all. But if you said, Smitty, I can only have one thing at my draft. I can't print out your rankings. I can't do this. I got one piece of paper, or I've got one ability to hold information in my head. What do I take to my draft? What you take to your draft is discrepancy ADP data, something that shows you what you can get away with, and at the same time, the suggested rank is kind of that information right in the app. But if you're going there to a in-person draft, you're bringing that ADP data before you're bringing anything, because your mind can decide who is worth taking best player available on the clock more than you can remember where everybody's going. ADP is the most important thing in all of fantasy football. It's the difference between you drafting Kyren Williams too early in a best ball draft, when I tell you that Kyren is going at mother freaking 29 overall. So Kyren Williams, the difference between a championship, the difference between winning 20K or 100K or $1 million resides in the knowledge that Kyren can be had at 29 overall and not over here at his 15 overall ADP in best ball, or non-best ball. If you don't know the difference, if you don't walk into your best ball draft knowing Kyren doesn't need to be drafted there, then you don't have an advantage anymore. And if you don't, on the flip side, walk into a in-person draft with your buddies that's non-best ball, and you don't understand that you're getting values down the board that are so very different than over here, you're potentially losing your league off of that lack of knowledge. So Travis, you're live. What's up?
Hey, what was DK's non-best ball? I couldn't see it. Went off the screen too quick.
DK's ADP on best ball is let me see, let me move this down so I can. It's 26 overall, and on non-best ball, DK Metcalf is going at flipping 42. So it's a nice value. It's crazy because RBs are going a lot higher, but that doesn't change my tune into wanting to potentially look at robust RB and non-best ball, because some of these wide receiver values are just to the moon. Like DK Metcalf at 42 in non-best ball, where running backs are going higher. You still got Devontae Smith at 45. You still got so much value. The Waddle falls, like all these things make sense. Debo's at 31. I'm going RB not because I don't go best player available. I'm going RB most times right now. I'm going balanced and RB. When I say balanced, what I really mean is hero RB, essentially. Like, I'm either going hero RB, where I take one running back, I take one wide receiver, or I go wide receiver, running back. Hero RB can consist of an RB in round 2. You can even go third round hero RB, which is wide receiver Josh Allen, or wide receiver, then running back in round number 3, like Kyren in best ball. So I'm very, very open to hero. Hero's probably my second favorite approach. That is the balance for me. Like starting off balance, but then changing directions and going hero. There's so much good value at running back later in best ball. Hero RB is fantastic in best ball. But that's if best player available opens that door. I'm finding myself drafting RB way more than even hero, or way more than anything in best ball, because of this ridiculous discrepancy and the borrowing and stealing of wide receivers from round 3 and 4 and driving them into 2. Driving 9-3, whatever caller, you got the background noise on, bro. Call back when you got to turn down. This is a great time to understand this data, my friends. It can help you win a damn league. Hold on, Travis. Let me go over to Ron. Ron, you're live.
What's up, Ron?
Hello, Ron.
Hey, sorry, I had to come off the mute.
What's up?
You don't have to worry about background noise. I was on mute. So.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, I understand your take on Mahomes and all that, but I'm not touching him.
That's fine.
Now, if he returns to 2022 form, maybe, but considering that in best ball, I'm talking about best ball, he was a real disappointment when you needed him most at the end of the best ball season. He wasn't there. He had, let's just say, he started out from week 11 to week 17. He was quarterback 15, and then against Philly, and then he was quarterback 8 against Las Vegas, then quarterback 16 against Green Bay, quarterback 20 against Buffalo, quarterback 14 against New England, quarterback 16 against Las Vegas, and then quarterback 25 against Cincinnati. So, especially in those weeks where I really needed him, he was a letdown last year.
See, you're letting your emotions get control of you though, because he's always been an elite. He was number 1 in the entire fantasy football industry. He was the number 1 overall scorer in 2022. So yes, he had a bad year. He had a bad year.
Yeah.
So like you can either hang on to that, and I get it, and I understand why. So I'm not mad at you, Ron. I need you. I need people to doubt Mahomes. I need Mahomes to be doubted. I'm not trying to convince you. I'll keep doing it.
I said I understand your point of view. I'm just telling you my point of view is I'm not touching.
And I'm glad.
I'm glad. Baked into the ADP.
There's too many other players around him at his ADP that I like better.
I'm glad you feel that way.
I'm probably taking my shot at Hurts, Allen before Mahomes, and I'd even like wait on getting the value of Burrow later down. I got Burrow yesterday in the 10th round, believe it or not, in an underdog draft.
Nothing wrong.
But if you hold last year,
nothing wrong with that.
If you hold last year against Mahomes, how can't you hold last year against Burrow?
Last year, Burrow was injured.
Well, here's the thing, Ron. I understand your point. I do. And I don't hate it. I love it because I need more people to doubt Mahomes so we can keep his ADP at bay. But there are two ways to look at this. You're either going to cling on to last year or you're going to cling on to what Mahomes has been for his entire career. And every quarterback, hold on. Every quarterback has that year. Brady would have big years. He'd have a down year. Peyton Manning's had down years before. It's happened before. It's definitely not, an uncommon territory to have a QB have a struggle bus year. And in your comment about Hurts and you'd rather have Hurts than Josh Allen, of course, those guys have higher ADPs. You're drafting those guys higher. But Mahomes is a value. He's a steal. I get not going after him. And I wouldn't have the popular early quarterback shows that we have in the content that a lot of people gravitate toward because they don't hear it a lot. There's a lot of wait on a quarterback in the industry, which is fine. This is how we found Burrow. This is how we found Jalen Hurts. There's no bigger Jalen Hurts, content creator than I was his breakout year. He was a moon man. Everybody doubted him. He was a 6th and 7th round pick, and we smashed the hell out of that value. I love AR5 right now in that 5-6 territory. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat and win a league. So it just comes down to when you're on the clock. If Mahomes slips by you, then it's AR5. If AR5 slips by you, it's JD5 and Burrow cuffed together. I'm not in the Burrow camp. I'm just in the camp of when I hit best player available, I'm snagging it. If it's a quarterback, then in that particular league, I don't need to necessarily go down the QB approach later. But I still oftentimes they'll draft a Burrow because he goes so late as my second quarterback, if that's the case. But I don't disagree with being disappointed in Mahomes, but I hold none of it against him. Because I know what he's capable of doing. He's capable of being the number one overall scorer like he was in 2022, 1 year prior. And if anybody thinks he's not coming back with a vengeance, this could be a 50 total touchdown season for Mahomes. And I think everyone's going to live in regret just even having a millimeter of, or even a millisecond rather, of doubt and saying, why did I think he wasn't going to bounce back? Why did I think he wasn't going to have 50 touchdowns coming off that season and improve wide receiver room? You know, if Rice doesn't play a single snap, he's still got a better wide receiver room than he had last year. Not to mention they finished the year strong. They won a Super Bowl. They had Tony, you got to turn your stuff down in the background. Mute yourself. This is where he enters with momentum. Like, there's tons of momentum. It wasn't like they crapped the bed, exited the playoffs, and then you're wondering what we're looking at. They won the Super Bowl. It's crazy when you think about it. It's such a bad year, and they won the mother freaking Super Bowl. Pacheco's going to be even better this year, catch more passes. I think Kelsey has one more year left in him. And, you know, and Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice when he's there. This is an unbelievable pass-catching room. Very underrated, so very different team.
I'm not really high on his receivers yet. I mean, Worthy. I mean, we were all big on what's his name that never panned out.
Tony.
We were all
Kadarius
big
Tony.
Sky Moore,
Mecole Harbin.
The other one though.
Sky Moore
Before Rice.
Sky Moore.
Yeah, Sky Moore. We were
Sky
big
Moore.
on Sky Moore.
Well,
and I just
so we don't believe.
We're big on Worthy's capability, but we haven't, you know.
Yeah, but
I don't
different
know.
situations.
I'm not saying I'm not taking him at all. I've taken
I just
him,
find it funny. That's
but-
the bone you pick.
Oh.
That's the bone you pick. It's like Mahomes is going. He's going. Like, how is that even the gripe here? Like, Mahomes is going in such a great territory. Like, I don't know that it's arguable. It's preference. You know, I struggle with whether I want to wait and get AR5. And that's where I sit here and I look at Mahomes and I say, man, I can draft, you know, a player like, let me see, in best ball, like Pacheco, you know, or Achane or whatever. Mahomes is going 32 over on non-best ball. So instead of drafting Mahomes here, I'll take Achane, and then I miss Mahomes. And I made that calculated decision. I knew I was probably going to miss Mahomes. Yeah. Now I get an AR5 built team. I have no qualms with that at all. But I'm just telling people 50 plus touchdowns total might be coming this year. And anybody thinking that Mahomes turned into something different than his 2022 self, which was number one in all of fantasy football, the number one scorer, he's 1 year removed from that. I just think it's wildly reckless to think Mahomes is going to drop the ball for you. He's not a ball dropper. He does the ball dropping.
I'm not. I told you, I'm not.
He'll drop your balls.
I'm just not over. I'm not like drafting him, you know, every single chance I get. I'm not doing that. I'm drafting more of a Hurts, Stroud, Allen, Stroud, you know, those type of players before him. But I have taken him on a few, and so I'm not like totally just like not taking him, but I am. But now what I am saying is I do find myself going, because you got about half a dozen quality running backs out there that can really make a difference. Everybody else after that is questionable. And so these running backs, they're precious. And so, you know, I find myself taking more of the top running backs. Of course, one could get injured. We've had that happen before, but you get two or three good running backs in the top, you know, the top of the draft. You alleviate that injury probability by a lot, and a lot of times, you know, like you said, the running back actually ends up being the better value because everybody's overvaluing the wide receivers. And somebody like, you know, you got to look at these wide receivers you can get a really good ADP. Just take it. People might not like it, but I like Sutton this year, where his ADP
Sutton.
is. Sutton, I find
Sutton.
myself taking him a lot. Sutton, yes. I find myself taking Sutton a lot.
He's okay.
His ADP? Heck yeah.
Do you know what would happen if Mahomes suddenly decided to stop going into work? A business big enough to be listed in the NFL would go belly up. Disappear. Cease to exist, Ron. No, you clearly don't know who Mahomes is. Let me clue you in. Mahomes is not in danger. He is the danger.
What are you talking? How you relate Mahomes to Sutton?
I don't know. I'm just still going off on the Mahomes thing. But and then you bring Sutton up like like we're not gonna, like, you're trashing on Mahomes and you bring up Sutton. I don't know.
No, everybody's going after these receivers in best ball like crazy, so they're coming off the board a lot. But if you invest in those running backs, I feel,
but
if you know what
that's the whole show.
The value of receivers that you might miss at the top, in the middle or lower part of the draft, and I think Sutton is one of those wide receivers that you can get extreme value and you can get great return for the ADP that he's at.
Yeah. Well, he's not one of mine, but I you're preaching to the choir about rather draft running backs than anything else right now. But I think Mahomes, Hurts, Josh Allen, AR5, these are such big difference makers, such big touchdown scorers, especially in non-best ball. They're going to carry you each and every week. Best ball, you have a little bit more of an advantage of maybe waiting because you've got a rotation of quarterbacks that you don't need to necessarily decide on. They get decided for you. So if you draft, let's say, a Cousins, a Penix Jr., and a JD5, you could outscore, a Josh Allen team in best ball all day long because of the rotation, and you don't even have to make those decisions. JD5 goes out, boom, he's in your lineup automatically. But in a non-best ball, I think in that third round, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, you're getting any one of those QBs. It is and people can attest to this, that had the injuries and they drafted a player like that in 2022. I remember people coming back in left and right after the season going, Smitty, I'm never not drafting a top quarterback again, because the restless, I didn't get any sleep, just restless nights of trying to figure out who my quarterback was. So, and I'm not saying Burrow and those guys can't fall into that bucket as a nice late drafted strategy, but Mahomes is special, man. AR5 is special. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, these guys scoring 2 and 3 touchdowns a game. It's just such a safety valve in non-best ball. But I'm with you, obviously. The whole show is about RB practically. RB. I'm not afraid to go RB. I could care less what the industry says or what Scared Scotties or slave data, people are saying about wide receiver. But yeah, Sutton's,
they do it every year.
Sutton's not my guy. Sutton's not my guy.
They overvalue wide receivers.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, no, I just used him as an example. I mean, I look at him, and even with crappy coaching and all this, he's still got really great value. And I think Bo Nix, who else are they going to throw to there? Who else they really got to throw to?
I mean, Franklin,
Mims,
Franklin.
Franklin's the rookie.
Yeah, well,
I like
he's also Nix's guy. Nix has the rapport with Franklin more than he has with Sutton, so there's going to be that. But yeah, plus I just don't trust. I don't trust that staff at all to be consistent.
The one I don't trust is Judy. I don't trust Judy. I stay away from Judy.
Well, he's not there, but
he's in Cleveland.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
Let me go over to Tony real quick. He's been waiting very patiently. Tony, I forgot you were there. Tony, what can we do for you, Tony?
Yeah, I was just going to say about the Mahomes thing. I mean, when you're talking about a first ballot best quarterback in the NFL, which one is more likely? That he has another down year, so that's 2 down years in a row, or that he regresses to his mean, and his mean is, of course, that he's an absolute monster. So which one is more likely? Right? So and in the third round, fourth round, I mean, absolute steal, to your point.
Yeah, I agree. And again, not that Wrong's Burrow plan isn't a plan I'll take all day long. It's just it depends on who's there with Mahomes. It's always going to come down to that. Again, I don't draft a position. I don't cement in a certain player. But I do have tendencies to say if I'm drafting at 11 or 12 overall, running back is higher likely for me than it is anything else, just because I know who's falling. You know, in a non-best ball, I won't hesitate to take Kyren at 13. I won't. I mean, his ADP is 15 in non-best ball. In best ball, I'm taking advantage of Kyren because he's falling to the third round right here. Kyren Williams, 29 overall. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm taking advantage of it. But right here, especially in best ball where you could just redo it, right? Like you don't get what you want, start another $5 draft. Don't get what you want, start another $5 draft. Not saying don't complete your draft, but I'm just saying like this is we can do it over and over and over and over again. So take your chances of waiting on players. Don't feel you have to reach when you can just do another draft. Over here, non-best ball, you got one shot at it with your buddies. You don't redraft. It's your buddies. It's your work league. It's your grandma league. It's the nursing home league. You got one shot. And so I'm not pushing my luck with Kyren at all. I'm taking him at 13 if I have to. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. So on the topic of QBs, I was going to ask you, are you buying the narrative that Herbert's kind of going to be irrelevant this year?
Am I buying the narrative? I've been the one preaching the narrative, Tony. Haven't you been watching the show?
Okay.
I'm conducting that train.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm new to the game this year.
I'm conducting that train. Herbert is got a Vegas projection of something along the lines of, like, I forget what it was, 3,300 to 3,500 yards. This is a 5,000 yard passing quarterback, and Vegas is projecting like 33 to 3,500 yards. This is a guy that is being asked to race around a track with 200 mile per hour race cars, and Harbaugh is telling him, I'm going to put a governor and a limiter on your gas pedal that will only allow you to go 120 miles per hour. This guy's barely able to play above 50% capacity. It's not that they can't win. I'm not saying that it's impossible for this team to scrape out wins and for him to put together a college football team like he had at Michigan, built on defense, built on running the ball. But he also brought in two of the worst running backs I could possibly think of. This guy's not building a good team. Maybe the Joe Alt pick turns out good. I'm not saying building from the trenches is the mistake. I could have let him do everything he did. You want McConkey? Fine. You want Joe Alt and you can't even use him. You got to move him to the other side. I get it. You want to do all that? Fine. But I would have brought in Derrick Henry, or I would have brought in Barkley. I wouldn't have got rid of Keenan Allen. In those two moves alone, Henry or Barkley or Jacobs, and I don't care. Don't talk about money. It's very movable. That money is nothing. Running back money is nothing. You could find it in the couch cushions. You bring in an RB, you don't ask Keenan Allen to leave, and you have a 10 times a better chance. So I don't know what the hell he's doing over there.
You think Herbert gets frustrated after this next year coming up and requests a trade next year?
I don't even know if his dead cap will allow it, but I mean, he could. They're talking him up right now like this guy's picking up the offense like I've never seen. But because the offense is so simple. It's like, man, I've never seen a guy pick up an offense. We tell him to hand the ball off. This guy I told him hand it off with the left hand or hand it off with the right hand. This guy knows he knows it before we even tell him.
So is your outlook on him that you wouldn't even touch him at his current ADP, which is already low, or you would just why would
you draft him? Give me a scenario of why, when I could get Kirk Cousins while Ron's on the phone. Let's tickle Ron's fancy real quick. Kirk Cousins is 18 overall. QB 18. You could draft Cousins and Penix Jr. together, especially in best ball, and you're annihilating, especially in best ball because you're grabbing both of them. You're annihilating Herbert's value. I mean, how do you draft Herbert? How do you draft Herbert when you have Kirk Cousins at QB 18? There are so many quarterbacks all the way up. There's no reason to take a gamble on a Herbert with no weapons. And Lab McConkey's got so much to prove. I like the guy, but everybody thinks he's in this ideal situation. I don't know that it's going to be. It's not like he's going to be on the fast track by any means. This is not an offense that's going to fast track anybody. This is also not a coach or an offense or a staff that necessarily is going to lean on any one person. This is everybody sits in numerical order in the locker room. You can't even have your locker you're used to. You're told to get up and move your shit into another locker because the coach wants you to sit in numerical order. This raw Harbaugh way is going to get so tiresome for these pros. And anybody that says, oh, he's done it before in San Francisco, there are tons of cases where San Francisco players were talking about it later, going, I got so sick and tired of his raw attitude about everything. It's like you just get sick and tired of it. And in the players in college, the reason they didn't grow as tired of it is because they graduate out, pretty quickly. So it's just Harbaugh. I'm not saying he's not a great college coach. Clearly he is. I'm not even saying he can't be a good pro coach on some weird level. But I also know this is a guy that goes in saying Herbert can play edge rusher. Herbert could play linebacker. Herbert could play, he's so big and strong and good, he could play any position we want him to play. This guy's sense of reality is wild. And I feel like similar to how we think like, oh, Bill Belichick's going to be good no matter what, right? He's one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach of all time. We saw him incapable of coaching for years. It's not always as simple as you're a great coach, it's all going to work out. You have to have the right pieces in place, the right situation. A lot of people say Sean Payton is in the wrong spot. It's just he's not going to be able to put it all together in enough time before he ends up getting canned. Dable's a great QB molder, but what in the hell is he doing with Danny Dimes? How does he think Dimes is even worth extending? Like, so, it's not always, you got to have almost some of the right pieces in place, man. I don't know that Harbaugh is just walking back into the NFL just because he's done it before and he's going to have this huge success. I'm not necessarily saying it's impossible, but I could build a better team than him, 100%. And I just told you how. Don't get rid of Keenan Allen. Bring in a running back. Do everything else the same. My team's better than his team. Maybe he outcoaches, obviously, what I could do because I'm not a coach. But if somebody needs to hand him a team because he doesn't know what in the hell he's doing.
I agree. It's not a knock on Herbert's talent at all, but it's more about the coaching and the pieces around Herbert that's going to make it not worth taking him.
All right, boys, I got to jump. I'm going to be back at 8 p.m. Eastern. Any final thoughts from any one of you?
I don't know, maybe you touched on it at the beginning of the show. Did you see the thing about Dell, Tank Dell returning kicks?
Yeah, we're going to probably talk about that later.
Yeah, it's just an interesting one, so.
Yeah, so we'll address that later. Sorry, I gotta run. I got kids in the background going crazy. All right, thanks guys.
Talk to you later.
Appreciate you. See y'all later. All right, guys. Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Live when big news breaks. Got madness in the background. 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Live whenever big news breaks. Travis, yeah, we'll talk more about return stuff on the 8 p.m. show, if not sooner. See you all later. Appreciate you. Thank you for the super chats. Oh, we got Ron Navy. Oh, Pickens was the last super chat. Ron Navy, thank you for the $20 haulers. Sterling, EC, and Calvin Krim. Deuces.